What's going on, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Expected Bets 4 presented by the Odds Breakers. On this week's episode, we're breaking down the Central Division. If you haven't listened to our last episode where we break down the Pacific, please be sure to check that out. Next week, I think we're doing the Metro, I believe. But before we get into the Central, let's bring in the rest of the crew. Betzky, how we doing?
Oh, good. I got all my Yotes gear on. We got the Yotes polo. We got the Yotes hat. I'm excited.
Love it. Franco, how about you? Big win last night for Philly.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't looked super impressive to start the year, but 2-0. I mean, I can't complain. So I'm ready for hockey, though, man. It's 25 days, you said, right? So
yeah,
man, it's right around the corner at this point.
Right around the corner.
I could taste it.
All right, it's still 100 out here, so not quite hockey weather yet,
this morning when I went to work, it was a little early in the morning, but it was nice and it was cool.
Fall weather,
it was chilly out. I'm ready.
Yeah, it was in the 80s this morning. Nice.
Oh my god. All right, let's jump right into it. To our resident Coyotes fan here, Betzky. Coyotes 70 points last season, better improving from the last 2 years, I guess, before that. Few nice offseason acquisitions here. I mean, the team's rebuilding, but it seems like they're at least heading in the right direction, I guess, outside of a stadium.
Yeah. Still in the college rink. Unfortunately, last year I think they overperformed a little bit too much, and we got bounced out of a top 4 pick. It seemed like that was really that true tier in the draft. So, or top 5 even, actually, right?
Yeah.
Bedard, Carlson, Fantilli, Will Smith. No, top 4. So of course, Coyotes luck. That's how it always goes for us. Nothing's easy, but I really love what we've done this offseason. I mean, it's got to be somewhat of a testament to the coaching staff and just life in Arizona that we got Bukestad and Stetcher back. Both guys were pretty great for us, especially Bukestad. I mean, he really, really helped our center depth. I think he's a big reason why Hayton kind of exploded offensively at the end of the season last year. And, we traded him away at the deadline and he came right back, which is kind of a nice thing to see. Apparently he was a big reason why we were able to snatch up Jason Zucker too. He really sold him on the team, the coaching staff, the city, and then that kind of trickled down to Dumba. So those were the big, probably 3 names we acquired via free agency. So kind of a middle to top pairing-ish guy in Dumba. Probably don't want him on your top pair, but definitely helps us since we moved Chikrin. Jason Zucker, great top 6, maybe third line. Definitely can play up to the second line if needed. Forward, vet presence. And again, Bukestad hopefully will be our third line center, which would really help get Cooley assimilated. We weren't sure we're going to even get Cooley to sign this year. He did. So he is going pro, not going back to University of Minnesota. And then we traded for Jersey from LA with one of our 52nd round picks we have. So
that was a good get for you guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
So much to the depth. It really does.
Yep. And I know he struggled a little bit, especially in the playoffs, but I've noticed this across the league this year that those kind of power play offensive defensemen, power play specialists just aren't utilized the same in the postseason. Outside of probably Evan Bouchard, we saw a lot of guys kind of drop off as far as their production, just not getting the same type of minutes, but still got to win games to get into the postseason. So I think he's still going to be a valuable piece for us. And really, before we acquired him, we really had kind of just the same type of defenseman up and down the lineup with JJ Mosser and Val Mackey of kind of these 2-way guys. Both are young, both are improving every game, it seems, but we really didn't have any other dimension. So having that really offensively gifted defenseman on the team should really help. And I did read that he was playing on the left side pretty much all year in LA. And he's a natural right-hand defenseman, so he's apparently pretty excited to get back to his natural side. So excited to see what he can do. Excited to see what Andre Tournier, our coach, can do with him as well. I I still don't think we're a playoff team by any means. Don't get me wrong, but I took the over for their total points at 76.5. Weaker Central Division. I know that a lot of teams struggled playing at the Mullet, which is, again, a college rink. I guess it's really loud. I guess the lighting and just the size of the arena throws other people off. And, we had something called Mullet Magic last year. It's the first time we beat the Bruins, and I think since 2010 or
that
something
game was
ridiculous.
Wild.
Yeah, I know.
The shots in that game were absolutely insane. I don't think the Coyotes broke 20.
No.
And it was like a last-second goal. Who scored? It was a last-second goal, wasn't it?
I think so, and I think it's Bukestad.
Yeah.
Or Kraus. But looking up and down this forward lineup, I mean, we got 4 lines that you can roll out and match up to just about anyone. I think our 4th line looks better than most people's 3rd line, if it's what Daily Faceoff has with. I think they've had like Jack McBain, Tyler Boyd, and Kraus. And Kraus is a top 6 forward.
That's a nice line for sure.
Yep. Defense obviously needs some work. We're not quite there yet, but again, if you've been sleeping on Val Mackey or JJ Moser, it's time to wake up. Both of these guys look like top 4 defensemen. I think Val Mackey, this is going to be more of a prove it year, but I mean, Moser's came in 2 years in a row, has looked fantastic. Yeah. We'll see how he handles a larger workload and more minutes, but pretty excited. I also took for a side, I did a half unit on Cooley for the Calder. I got him at plus 2,000 when he first signed the day of. I think it's down to 1,500 now. I think he's the 3rd favorite. I mean, when you're talking about rookie of the year, it's pretty much who can put up the most points, right? And obviously Bedard is going to be a very special talent, but Cooley is a year older. He had a year of, professional weight training at an NCAA team. He was a Hobie Baker finalist as well. If he gets any sort of power play time, I mean, I don't think 60 points is out of the question for him, as long as the minutes work out and he gets a little bit of sheltering and gets some power play time.
He's surrounded by more talent, depending on where they're going to utilize him. Like, as long as he stays in that top 2 lines, I like the pieces around him a lot better than I like around Bedard, for sure.
Yeah, outside of Hall, obviously, but I mean,
if that's all they have for offense.
Yeah, it's really that Bedard. It's going to be the Bedard show.
Yeah,
pretty bad. Yeah,
and I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more pretty soon here. But yeah, I'm excited. This should be a fun team to watch. I was on another show with Terry talking about the Yotes, and he had a great point of the team total may be a nice play for most of the year, because I'm sure you're going to get a lot of value on it. And then all these top 6 forwards, I think you're going to really like to look at points for them throughout the season, because at one point here, Hayton, who will probably be our top line center playing with Keller, who had 86 points, by the way. At one point, Hayton was almost scoring a point per game from like January till the end of season. And he was, I think, around plus 105 for most of that run.
And it was silly because Keller's always minus 180. So
yeah, so you're getting like his line mate who's dishing it to him.
Yeah.
So I mean, look for Zucker points. I would look for Hayton again, maybe Schmaltz.
Michelli's always plus money too.
Michelli, yep. Kraus, if Kraus is on the line with Michelli again, if he's on the line with Cooley, I mean, it's going to be. I have a lot of hope for this team. I do think another top 10 pick would be really nice for this rebuild. I think another top 5 pick would be even better, but nothing comes easy for us.
So the one concern I have with this team is the same thing we saw last year, is how they start off. So last year, they had a 6-game road trip. Then they played 4 games at home. Then they had 14 in a row. And by that time, they were 7-13-4. This year, they go to Australia, play the 2 preseason games, play 6 of their first 9 on the road, then come home for 3 straight, and then they play another 5 games on the road. So it's a similar kind of situation that they're in last year, which is brutal.
Yeah.
Like absolutely brutal. So I guess if they get through that, I guess that's going to be kind of the telltale sign of this team of, can they get through the first kind of 20 games of the year?
I'd have to agree. But again, I really like the over on the point total here. It'll probably be one of my top 3 picks.
I have
for
74.5,
Central.
by the way.
You have 74.5, huh?
Yeah.
On
Where do you have
DK?
DK.
Okay. Yeah, I would hammer that. I mean,
That sounds better.
3 wins better.
6.5.
Yeah. Over minus 125.
And again, I think this entire division up and down has regressed besides maybe one team.
Yeah. Yeah, when you start to really go through it, which, I mean, we will. But, yeah, I can't say there's really a lot of strong contenders here that I'm kind of picking. But
yeah.
Anything else here really from the Yotes? I think you kind of hit on every point here. I don't really have anything else to add.
Yeah, I think the main thing to say is just the depth is impressive. I don't think this team has been this deep in. I mean, as long as I can remember, it feels like the defense looks a lot better, although it's not quite there, like you said. But I love the addition. You know, it's like it's an improvement of what they were. Like even as good as Chychrun was, like I don't know. I feel like Dumba and Dursey and getting these guys more minutes might almost be better than having Chychrun. I don't know how you feel.
We will see. I have a feeling this could be a really nice year for Chychrun, and I think he may turn a lot of heads, and I think we will potentially see what not having a true number 1 guy looks like. But again, the depth's there to help. But yeah, I mean, we lost Gostisbehere and Chychrun. That's not like.
Yeah, it's not easy.
It's not easy.
Dursey's almost your Gostisbehere replacement.
Exactly.
It's like a like for like. I mean, I don't know. It's not the exact same guy, but I like what Dursey brings, and
me too.
Maybe he can play a little bit more confident this year. I feel like the Kings like sheltered him really heavily in the playoffs, and that kind of like almost hurts your confidence. So.
Is Vejmelka still on the trade block, or what's his deal? Because he's been another one of those guys, along with Gibson, that's been rumored to be traded for, it seems like, the past year and a half.
Yeah, I would imagine he is, and again,
which could hurt the season.
Zucker's on a 1-year deal. Dumbo's on a 1-year deal. I think some of the writing was on the wall of let's play as hard as we can. Let's obviously try to get as many wins as possible, but the plug could still get pulled closer to the deadline. I mean, if the Kings were to offer up a first, I don't think there's any way Bill Armstrong would say no.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, moving along here, we got the Chicago Blackhawks here. Obviously, won the lottery with Bedard here. They bring in a few veterans here, in Nick Foligno, Taylor Hall, Corey Perry, and Ryan Donato. You look at this team, and we just talked about this top 6 and even kind of their top 12 here of their forward lines. They're not great by any means here.
Not great. They're
awful. They're awful.
There you go.
Well, I mean, then you move to the defense.
It's maybe worse
as well. Yeah, exactly. And then you move to the goalies and Mrazek and Soderblom.
It could be the worst pair.
Could be the worst of all 3.
This is a team that is built to tank. I mean, if there is ever a team that is built to lose, this is it right here. It's beautiful.
Says the Philly fan.
How many third line players can you possibly have in your top 12?
Guys, I don't even know who Jason Dickinson
10?
is.
Yeah.
He's a former Canuck, right? Is that a former Canuck?
I gotta say, their fourth line of Foligno, Donato, and Corey Perry isn't the worst fourth line in the NHL.
But that third line that Daily Faceoff has right now of Khrushchev, Dickinson, and Colin Blackwell.
That's
oh boy. And then the defensive pairings. Oh my Lord.
Pretty gross.
Jared Tenorti, I didn't even realize was still in the league. And I don't think he's played in the actual NHL for very many games. I mean, he's pretty much a career AHLer. I don't know who White Kaiser is. Zaitsev.
All I know is Zaitsev. Like the Sens were like, all right, we've had enough. Like, get this guy off our team, please. Last year, and now
I mean,
somehow he's back.
He's the type of guy you had to trade a 2nd-round pick to just unload him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't think Korchinski is actually going to make the lineup. I sure hope they don't do that to him, but
yeah,
that's what
he
Daily
can
Faceoff has projected, and they have him on the top pair.
Yeah.
No, I think he's still juniors though, unfortunately.
Just throw him to the Wolves. Put him on that first pair with Seth Jones.
Holy cow! Well, at least Seth Jones can hold down some minutes, but geez,
I know, but that's about all.
Yeah.
So their point total is 71.5, which is only 3 off from the Yotes, which is kind of incredible when you think about it.
I love that under.
Yeah.
I don't.
Also, you look at their key departures here. It's at least 15 guys, and I think half of them are still unsigned, and the other half are either in the AHL or have gone overseas.
Oh my god,
it's pretty bad.
It's bad.
I mean, I don't know. Radish showed some flashes last year. If we want to be a little bit positive, right?
Sure. Reichel on the first line with Hall and Bedard could be interesting if
he could finally show what he's was drafted to do. But
yep.
I don't know. I mean, Athanasiou is always injured, so count him out for another 30 or 40 games this year, and then now you got to bump all these other guys up a little bit more, and it's just. I mean, that's just going to make it look even worse than it already does.
It's so insane to think that this was a team that traded a first-round pick for Seth Jones to push all the chips in and go for it with some of the last years of Patrick Kane. This was just 2 years ago. Then they blew it all up that offseason. And here we are.
Could be Pittsburgh in a few years.
It could be.
How bad is the situation?
It has the writing on the wall for Pittsburgh in about 3 years. Thinking about that now, if their veterans go, and even Washington too. Washington's already kind of started down that path, it feels like.
Yeah, a little bit. I was thinking about this last night. I think the worst type of team to be a fan of is one that doesn't have any direction.
I was Sabres
Canucks fans, but
yeah,
I kind of
here. We were in 10 years in limbo with. I mean, yeah, but I agree. It's Chicago at least is bringing in a few veterans to at least surround Bedard with that, which is a positive. In terms of that, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, this team's basically phase 1 of rebuilding here, and it's really interesting to see their points total at 71.5.
All their contracts too, like pretty much everybody will be gone by 2024, 2025 season, except for Seth Jones, who will be there forever. But they're doing it relatively right. They can't do anything about Seth Jones, but I mean, it's a nice thing to see. If you're a Blackhawks fan in 2 years, 3 years, like none of these guys are going to be here. So just take the L's. Hopefully you get another top pick, and then you compare somebody else with Bedard. I mean,
I feel like that Quenneville situation was kind of the tipping point for this team in terms of just heading in the wrong direction here. Kind of from there, they really haven't rebounded at all. But anything else really on this team? I mean, 71.5 seems just high.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be somewhat of a betting black hole team, so I'm not really counting to be doing props for this team. I mean, maybe Bedard or Taylor Hall, but
you're almost looking at unders with like solid defensive teams here.
Yeah, maybe shots against.
So you're not going to find much value though, right? Like even like a good shot guy is going to be at 3.5 and juiced probably.
Yeah,
so it's going to be stay away.
And Bedard is such a big name that I feel like, I mean, when the season opens, maybe his point props are going to look all right. Maybe he can be a 20 to 30 goal scorers rookie year. We'll see.
It's going to have to be if they want to score.
Yeah. So I think this is like to me, this team has the writing on the wall to just burn you if you're looking for shots on goal from any of these guys. I don't think it's going to be very consistent. And then again, I think Bedard is a big enough name that the books may juice him up quite a bit because people are going to be excited to bet on him. And, obviously Chicago has a big fan base. So we'll see. I mean, I guess we'll see once things open, but
his goal
His
props.
his season point total is already insane.
What
Yeah,
is
like
it?
you're not going to get any value on him. I bet you
Yeah.
like his point props on games is going to be like minus 150, minus 160 every game, which is
Yep.
not bettable at all. And then his goal props is going to be like plus 120. Like you're going to look at it and be like, why would I ever bet this? It's
Yeah,
just
regular season points, Connor Bedard, 69.5.
Man, I mean, sure, if it happens, that's fantastic, and I mean, the kid is potentially a generational player, and that would solidify that. But McDavid didn't win the Calder his rookie year; he got injured, and I don't even think he was on like a point per game pace. I could be wrong about that, so I mean, you double check that. But this team doesn't look good, and his Bedard's Calder odds are awful. I'm not even going to use it to hedge my Cooley bet.
No.
There's no value to be. I mean, minus 120 for Calder to start the season, but when anything can happen, if he misses 10 games or 15 games, like that puts him in a bad spot, no matter how good he is.
If he goes pointless for a couple games, they'll put him in a bad spot.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an opposing coach looking at this team in terms of guys you have to cover,
you got one line to worry about. It ain't Jason Dickinson.
Yeah.
And I mean, if they trade Taylor Hall, like,
yeah,
at the towards the deadline, I mean, then what do you have? So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
interesting. But, all right, enough Blackhawks talk. Moving on to Colorado here, season for sure, but I mean, injuries when you really go down their lineup. Bounced by Seattle first round last year, took it to 7 games. They were still the favorites last year to win the cup, I believe. Trying to two-peat there, but a little bit of a roster this offseason here. Ross Colton, Ryan Johansson, Jonathan Drouin, Miles Wood, $15 million. But they also lose a lot of guys as well. So interesting team. I mean, for sure, certainly still have kind of those pieces in place for our playoff team and can make a run. But I don't really know you guys' kind of thoughts on this here. I'll start with you, Franco.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird to see this lineup when I'm looking at it with all these new pieces. Is there going to be that slow start trying to get all these guys to gel, figuring out who is going to play on that wing with McKinnon and Rantanen? Is it going to be Drouin, or is he going to shift down? They move Lehkonen up.
I think Wood played with McKinnon Junior. I thought.
Yeah.
In the queue.
Yeah.
Or Drouin played with McKinnon in the queue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's done nothing since his, being a highly touted player coming out.
No.
He's been nothing but kind of a disappointment. I kind of feel bad for him. He's been kind of all around and hyped up and beaten down by the media wherever he's gone, kind of for being just not what he was supposed to be. So, I mean, maybe he kind of has a revival here. I don't know. I mean, he's playing with two very good players if he is on that top line. I don't know. It kind of feels weird. Like I don't know what to make of this team now. Like I like the pieces they brought in.
Their lineup still looks really solid.
Yeah, it looks good. It's just I don't know if it's still what we had, 2 years ago. They're still favored, one of the top teams to win the cup. I don't know if I feel that way anymore about them. Their blue line still looks the same. It still looks good. So there's that.
Yeah.
So maybe, the stability there kind of helps this forward group get grounded, and eventually they put everything together and figure out how the pairings are going to work. But I don't know. I could see this team starting out a little slow, and maybe we can get some value on them. But I know going into the season, they're already favored to win the cup, or they're one of the top teams to win the cup still, even despite all these changes. So, I mean, I wouldn't be backing that type of bet or anything like that. You might be able to get better value if you believe this team does turn around.
10-1. To win the cup.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of like wishy-washy on it. I feel like I don't really know what to expect because it's just such an overhaul But I do like the pieces they brought in. So
I like the pieces if it all clicks and if some of them stay healthy. Ryan Johansson for free is a nice pickup, but the guy is not. I don't know if he's ever played a full season. And this is a team that was kind of decimated with depth and with their injuries, and it just killed their depth last season. And I think we saw a team that struggled because they didn't really have a 2C. They had Newhook and gosh, what was his name? The other center that's that went to Detroit.
What's that?
Comfer,
yeah, it was never a 2C. No. And I mean, it's they probably got the best second line center they could for nothing, because this isn't a team that has many assets to begin with. But man, if he goes down, luckily, I really like the Ross Colton pickup. I think that's a player who has some room to improve, some room to become a better player. And
he's really young still.
That third line of Miles Wood, Colton, and Bar is pretty solid.
I really like that line.
Which they get scoring and
but again,
at least something.
If you lose Ryan Johansson and now Colton's on your second line, and let's just say Nichushkin doesn't play for potential off ice issues, what does this team look like? And let's say Drouin doesn't click. I mean, you're back to square one of Lehkonen, McKinnon, and Rantanen being your entire team again.
Yep.
And that's a scary thought.
They almost feel like in Edmonton, like they're like trending towards being like Edmonton, right? Where like they have that incredible possibility of a first line where you shift everybody up and then just a bunch of other guys that kind of show flashes here and there, and then they just disappear elsewhere. That's what I think the worst case could be for them.
Agreed. And I don't have much confidence in their goaltending again. Gorgiev as their starter. I mean, I will keep on being this drum. I'll probably say this every episode. Goalies are voodoo. Sometimes they have magic season, play out of their mind. Then somebody signs them as a starter for too much money, Cam Talbot, and then they've come crashing back down. I mean, would anybody be surprised here if Gorgiev looked like a backup again?
And the other thing too is Francois is still injured. I read the other day, so I don't know what the deal is with him. Like they say he's not going to start the season, and they're in the market for a goalie right now. So that makes it even worse if you're going to have to really rely on Gorgiev to start the year to play more than you would like.
He played looks 62 games last season, though.
Gorgiev?
Yeah. 62.
I mean, that blue line's great. I mean, they'll be able to prop him up when needed, but man, if that guy loses some sort of confidence,
he's never historically been a good goalie. So last year,
I was going to say, remember how bad he was? If you were to say that he would have put up the numbers he did last year with being a backup in the Rangers.
Yeah,
he was awful.
Yep. He was awful.
So, yeah,
what's their point total at?
106.5.
I would lean under.
Yeah,
I don't love it. I mean, they could if they stay healthy. And Nichushkin does play for them. They could be great. They could be great.
Gorgiev somehow manages to put together another good year. 106 isn't unreasonable for this team.
No, it's not. But they
had a lot of things go right.
I'd have to agree. You kind of mentioned it, Franco. It feels like a little bit of a patchwork team. I'm slightly concerned about their leadership in this team with a lot of turnover like that. Without Landeskog on the team again, Nichushkin had some off ice issues. I can't gauge if McKinnon or Rantanen are kind of locker room heroes or what. So I mean, maybe you turn Makar or Taves. I don't know.
Taves hasn't been great though. He wasn't great last year.
No, he wasn't great last year, and Makar obviously was dealing with some injuries all last season. But I guess one side I will probably be taking on the Avalanche is Makar for the Norris to hedge whatever better odds player I get, because I think he's still plus money, and that does feel very safe. This is If Makar comes back to form, I think he's potentially the most valuable player in the NHL.
Yeah, that's true. If he stays healthy, yeah. Especially with this team being more shorthanded than they have historically been the last few years, he could make this team a lot better than we're projecting him to be. Just because he's that good.
Yeah,
plus 190.
So yeah, I will hedge with a full unit on Makar, and then I'll probably do 2 half units on 2 guys that I like with better value. Obviously, shots on goal props. This is the team. This is the team you want to do alts with. This is going to be the team you want to slam McKinnon every freaking night if you need to. And they'll still be a very bettable team, but I cup aspirations worries me. Winning the division worries me.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Did they win the division last year? I think they
did.
Yes, they did. So they had 109 points last year with all the injury issues. So that's the only reason I'm hesitant of going on.
Same.
At 106.
I don't want to touch it. I don't feel confident in either way. And obviously this team has some of the best players in the NHL. And I mean, they're if they have to be a one-line team again, they can win games. I mean, we saw it in the playoffs. I think that's ultimately why Seattle won. But when McKinnon and Rantanen were out, watch out.
They went on a tear to end the season last year. They went 8-1-1.
Yeah,
wow. 10, and I think that's really what propelled them to that 1 seed.
Oh, I put 4 units on Dallas to win the division when they were plus money around December too, and Colorado looked like they were fine.
They lost by 1. They lost by 1 point.
Oh, I know. I know.
I'm well aware. Speaking of Dallas, onto them, finished second in the division last year, 108 points, 1 short. Over under for their team points is tiers 105.5 here, minus 115 both ways here. Bring in Matt Duchene on a 1-year contract here, trying to bolster that offense. This team doesn't have many holes. I guess the biggest question, which is kind of with a lot of teams, is just can they make that jump? And they've made it to the Western Conference Finals, Stanley Cup, kind of each within the past 4 years. It's just, can this team make the jump? And Ottinger looked to regress a little bit last year, it felt like.
Yeah, but he's still very young.
Yeah, they're kind of confusing team here, too, when you look at this line. It's pretty solid.
I love this team up and down the lineup. I think they're one of the most fun teams to watch in the league right now. That top line, the Hintz, Pavelski, Robertson line is just unbelievable. I think Hintz really took another step during the playoffs. I mean, he may become a true number 1 elite center in this league. Yeah. White Johnston was incredible. I thought he should have won the Norris, to be honest, or I'm sorry, the Calder, to be honest. I can't believe it wasn't considered and it got more votes at the end of the year, but it is what it is. I mean, how many goals did he have? I think he broke 20 goals his rookie year.
He was damn good last year.
Yeah, he had 41 points, 24 goals, 17 assists.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to put Duchene on his line, holy cow. I love the Duchene pickup. I mean, this guy seems to have up and down seasons. So if last year was his down season, I mean, this guy could be a 90-point player again. You can move him up and down. I think on daily faceoff, they have him on the 3rd line, but I don't think that's where he's going to be playing. That's a hell of a Pavelski insurance too.
So the only reason they have Duchene on that 3rd line is, I guess, Duchene and Sagan have known each other since they were 10.
Wow.
A little bit of chemistry there, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, you look at 3 incredibly solid lines.
Yep. Now the problem, and we saw it in the playoffs, is that blue line. It's very one-dimensional to me.
It looks bad.
Bad. I mean, Heiskanen's great. Obviously, he's probably a top 5-ish defenseman in the league. I hope Thomas Harley can kind of have more of a coming out party this season and bring more of the offensive game that he was drafted for to this team, because otherwise they may have issues getting the puck out of their zone. Again, Lundqvist was a big pickup last year. They traded a first-round pick to the Rangers for him, and he didn't really perform up to the level you were hoping for.
16 points in 2 games.
Wow. Yeah. And again, he was supposed to be kind of that outlet guy, that first pass outlet, get the puck out of the zone. And I just didn't see it from him.
They also lose Colin Miller too. They sign him.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
I didn't love Miller, but I don't think he was the worst one on that blue line or the defensive core last year.
Yeah.
No.
Hakanpää struggled really bad in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Suter is, I mean, I don't know why they have him projected on line 1 with Heiskanen, but that's where I just question this team. I feel like you said, I mean, Harley's 22 and Lundqvist is 23, so like they're still young. I mean, maybe I mean there's still a chance that these guys could be good, and if they are, like you said, more of the offensive minded puck moving defenseman, then you have kind of the heavy hitting stay at home defenseman on a pair with each of these guys as of now.
Yeah.
You know, you got Suter and Hakanpää and Lindell. So maybe it's kind of like that perfect storm. But I just hate seeing Suter on the first pair. It just makes me sick.
Me too. And it's kind of interesting that they picked up Duchesne, because that didn't seem like the area of concern for this team at all. Was their forward group, but obviously Pavelski, this probably is going to be his last year. Who knows? Maybe not. But so you have that player who can step right back into that spot if needed. But the blue line was the issue the entire time to me, and you're kind of re-rolling the dice with it. But again, it may be one of those things where it clicks this year. So
yeah, good news. We do have those 2 defensemen and Harley and Lowe, so maybe they can take the next step up for them. Yeah, I guess in terms of team total points at 105.5, you lean either way here.
I'd probably lean over. It may not be my favorite here. I like it more than the Colorado one.
Yeah, plus 170.
That's tough.
What is it? What's their odds to win the division?
Plus 170.
That's it.
Yeah,
it's not much value at all.
No. Considering,
like we said, if Colorado has a healthy year.
Yeah.
The other thing too is, I mean, now so you add Duchesne, who's 32, Sagan is old, Pavelski's old, Ben's old. I mean, you know, relatively all these guys, like they got older. I mean, as much as I don't mind the Duchesne pickup, it's kind of weird. I mean, Dodanov's 34.
Whoa.
They have. I mean, these guys are old. You know what I mean? Like they could lose 3 of these dudes to injury just because of their age, and now this team looks bad. So that would be my biggest worry about them. I kind of wish instead of Duchesne they brought somebody in that was a little bit younger, to be honest, because that kind of scares me.
They have a great prospect pool still. I mean, this is, I think, one of the best orgs in hockey. It's kind of hilarious that's a Texas team, but they constantly draft well. They never get handed top picks outside of winning the lotto for Heiskanen. That draft year was insane. That was 2018. They picked Heiskanen in the first round, Jason Robertson in the second, and Ottinger in the third, or flip-flop those 2. Those were their first 3 picks.
Yeah, so insane.
I mean, White Johnston wasn't. I mean, I don't think anybody had him making the team last year and then doing what he did. And they got a whole nother group of kids that are kind of knocking on the door. So I don't know. I think they have the depth in the prospect pool to make up for any injuries that they have. Obviously, it'll slow them down, but yeah. Again, Central's a little bit weaker. I don't mind that over. I'd lean the over with the point total, but yeah, it is a little scary.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, moving along here. Or Franco, did you have a play on the total?
I guess I lean over, but I don't love it either.
Yeah, certainly not one of your best bets.
I mean, I think the biggest thing to consider here is Ottinger. If he takes another step, he's still really, really young. I mean, is he the best goalie in this division? I guess. I guess you can argue against that. I guess Hellebuck's pretty damn good. This division has some good goalies, so I don't know. He could take that step and become that next level. Maybe this team could be really really good, and they have the talent that could. Everybody could take another step here. Johnston could take another step, obviously, but Hintz, Robertson, it could be better than it even was last year. So I kind of like the over.
Yeah, agree. All right, moving on to Minnesota here. Just third in the division last year with 103 points here. Team total 95.5. So a significant drop off from last year, about 8 points worse. Projecting to be 8 points worse. Didn't make too many moves in the offseason here due to kind of a limited salary cap that they have. They bring in Maroon. They lose Dumba, Klingberg, Nyquist, Reeves, Steele, and Sung. So lost a bunch of guys, but interesting roster. They do still have Gustafsson, who they were able to arbitration with on a 3-year deal. So Tim and Fleury anchoring this team. Again, another really interesting team and kind of how they're set up this year. I'll throw it to you here, Betzky. Just what are your thoughts on the Wild with this lineup this year? Because it seems like a lot of question marks.
Yeah, I mean, this is the effect.
It's an interesting
of that.
team.
It is, and this is the effect of that Suter and Parise contracts. That I think they're still on for 2 more years, and that's killing their cap.
26.
Thanks, Chuck Fletcher.
Gosh. Yeah, God. I mean, this is pretty much the same lineup, but a little bit weaker because it seems like each year they have to just let somebody go. But the big difference this season compared to last season is I think they're going to have more additions from their kids. So Addison really kind of had a coming out party last year. He was a great offensive defenseman for them. I think he kind of made Dumba feel a little bit more expendable. Brock Faber could be a very nice piece for them. I love that pickup. And, last year when they moved Fiala, they got Brock Faber in that trade. I thought they were going to take a much larger step back, and they managed to kind of keep on trucking along. So I think this team's going to still be pretty good. I think they are probably a playoff team or maybe a top 3 team in this Central Division. I think Boldy can take another step if Marco Rossi actually solidifies himself on the lineup and is able to play center and potentially move up. Now their center depth is looking a little bit better, but
Rossi's progress will be interesting.
Yeah, this is another team. I mean, if we're talking about a team that is a couple injuries away from being bad, I think this is probably the team to circle on the Central. I mean, if they were to lose Kaprizov, is their season over?
Yeah, I mean that would definitely hurt them.
Yeah, the injury to this team, if they lose their star players more than Dallas, concerns me. Minnesota is much more of a concern than Dallas.
Same.
Yeah, Franco, I guess any kind of thoughts on this interesting team?
I don't know. I feel like even seeing all the losses from this team, I look at the lineup and I feel like it doesn't look that much different than what it was last year when it really comes down to it. I know it's a lot of pieces, but I mean, are they going to give Rossi a chance this year? I feel like they bring him up for 3 games, 4 games, and they send him back down.
He had won 19 games last season.
Yeah, but it's always in these short bursts that they give him a shot. I feel like they haven't really given him like a true opportunity like they have for Boldy. So maybe they give him a little bit more of a shot this year. Their prospect pool is really really good. That kid Sammy Walker looked pretty good last year in his limited time coming up as well. So I mean, he's another piece that could possibly come up this year if they lose somebody or whatever. But like you said, Addison and Faber look good. The blue line honestly looks kind of good. As long as they can stay healthy. I know Brodin has struggles last year. Same for Spurgeon, but I kind of like this team, to be honest with you. I didn't really expect to like them coming into this, but the top lines still look good. Their third line is still that like pain in the ass line to go against. That's just going to shut you down, kind of. And if Rossi does get some time and maybe gets bumped up, maybe they move Johansson down or something. I don't know. I think this team could be kind of exciting to watch. And Gustafsson was great last year. I think as long as he stays at that form or stays good, I think this team could be a surprise. I like that team total over.
Yeah, my only question here is if they're looking for more offensive production from Rossi, why would they put him on the fourth line with Maroon?
That's
probably more just daily face-off projections than anything. But
yeah, I guess that's something to monitor. Kind of once we start nearing the season. So Franco, you're leaning the over on 95.5 here. Betzky, you following suit, or are you kind of going under here?
I'd probably lean the over here too, because this team seems to always find a way.
I feel like it's like an overcorrection, right? Like last year, their win total was high. There was high hopes for the team, and they kind of floundered a little bit with Fleury starting the year as their starter. And I don't know. I feel like it's an overcorrection.
Yeah. And again, last season they lost a 80 to 90 point player in Kevin Fiala, and it didn't seem to bother them. So I don't think they lost as much as they did 2 seasons ago, to be honest. But
yeah, I mean, they've made the playoffs the last 10 or 11 years. So it seems like they're always there. And at 95.5, they're favored to make the playoffs again. So if this division, you're really looking at it, Arizona, Chicago, Nashville, St. Louis, Winnipeg, they should be able to get that 95.5 and make the playoffs. Because to make the playoffs right now, they're minus 200.
Yeah. I like that. I mean, the spine of this team is still intact, and I think that's the main thing that I just keep looking at. That center, the center depth there is really nice looking to me.
Yeah, Hartman was great last year. Remember, he was for like at least a solid month too. I think everyone had him pretty much every time for shots on goal. It seemed like
70% away.
That 2.5. Yeah.
Yep.
So all right. Moving along here, Nashville finished with 92 points last year, 5th in the division. Season total points, 86.5. So again, a team projected to regress a little bit here. They bring in Nyquist, Ryan O'Reilly, Guryanov, Luke Shen, but they do lose Duchesne, Johansson, Asplund. So I don't know. I mean, this team doesn't look terrible. Saros kind of had a decent year last year, not really living up to kind of that full potential that we saw kind of in seasons prior, it felt like. But another sneaky team. But again, that bottom 4 for up front, or the bottom 6 up front, doesn't look necessarily great. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Betzky.
Well, I couldn't believe this team almost made the playoffs last year. When Duchesne went out, Forsberg was out. Did they lose Ryan Johansson? I believe they did. I think their top 6 last year near the end of the season was Thomas Novak, Evangelista, Tomasino, Cody Glass. Yeah. And
they were scoring.
Those guys were scoring. They were.
And like
they really were.
Money. He was money.
Yep. So if these kids keep on improving and kind of propping the team up, this could be a sneakier forward group than you expect. And then if Forsberg can stay healthy, if Ryan O'Reilly kind of plays like a 70-point top center like he has been in the past, I mean, this may be the best center they've had in a long time. You can tell I'm not a huge believer in Ryan Johansson. And then Roman Josi could be a Norris winner again. Or did he even win it 2 years ago? No, McCarr did.
No,
this could be his season. I think that blue line is still pretty good with McDonough on there. Tyson Barrie brings more. Yeah, and obviously they have potentially the best goaltender in the league. I think this team can easily outperform that point total. I really like that over.
Yeah.
This may be my Norris pick with Josi.
That's every year. I feel like everyone's high on Yossi.
I know. But again, that's why I'm definitely going to hedge with Makar on any of these guys. Saros for the Vezina has got to be considered at least. I just don't know if this team gets enough wins to prop that prop up. Again, I think the Central got a lot weaker, so I think some of these teams that may actually look worse than they did may still outperform those point totals.
Yeah,
I think you missed the most important thing about this team. John Hines is out finally, so
yes,
that is a huge bonus, right?
It sure is.
I remember last year when we did this show, I believe all of us but Cheddar were on the over for this team, and I think they were 96.5. This again looks like a massive overcorrection here, 87.5. And you could argue it's almost like addition by subtraction. Hines is gone, Johansson's gone, O'Reilly's in, Guryanov looked pretty good. Nyquist, they're going to kind of replace
Duchesne,
yeah. So like the blue line still, like the blue line looks great to me on this team.
I agree.
I mean, it's kind of like to me, it's almost like I don't want to put them in the same category as this team, but like a Vegas light. It's like the right type of combos, right? You have like an offensive type of guy, but they can all contribute and they can all block shots. They can all shut down teams. Like I think this team is going to be like an under team, probably. At least teams playing against them. You have a very good goalie, obviously, in Saros. I don't know. I like this team a lot, I think, and that number looks good. Obviously, there's a lot of question marks if these young guys are going to continue to play well like they did last year. But I mean,
it's at least encouraging, at least that they got chances last year and they performed. I mean, Novak had 43 points in 51 games for them last year.
Yeah, I mean, he was automatic. It felt like with points. So they got that time, which is so valuable for these young guys. Usually players like that they're going to be playing third line minutes, right? They got to play first line minutes because everybody else was gone and everybody was injured, and that may help this team in the long term. It's invaluable, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, yeah, I like this team a lot. It seems like you really
Andrew Brunette
kind of fly under the radar too, because it's not like they have a ton of notable names really on this team.
Yep. I mean, look how good that Panthers team was a couple of years ago with Brunette under So I think that's a huge difference from what we saw last year with Hines and his conservative type of play style that he had on this team. So I'm kind of excited for this team.
Yeah, I would agree. At 86.5, that's doesn't seem too bad. A little bit juice to the over at minus 120, but not a bad number by any means there. All right, Betzky, are you leaning over on this too?
I am, yeah.
Okay. Move along here. Second last team, St. Louis Blues here finished 6th in the division last year with 81 points here. Their season total is at 86.5, so 5.6-point increase from last year here. They bring in Hayes, Sundqvist. They lose Logan Brown and Pitlick. But, I mean, didn't really lose a ton for this team. But disappointing season, it felt like, for a lot of this team. But, I mean, they missed the playoffs last year, but it seems like they didn't really lose too many key pieces. And really didn't bring in any key pieces besides maybe Kevin Hayes, if you want to say that that's a key addition even. So, yeah, Franco, I guess I'll continue with you here. What are your thoughts on this Blues team?
So as bad as Hayes was for the Flyers, and that situation just kind of went downhill quickly with that benching early in the season, and then I don't know. I mean, that it's Tortorella, right? Like I
forgot about that.
Yeah. Seriously, that's what started it. And then like all of a sudden he wasn't a top line center anymore, and he's playing third line, fourth line minutes. Like, I'm not going to talk about the Flyers. It's just go there, but this is an upgrade for him, right? Like he's playing on a team that is exciting to play for, right? Like this offense is pretty damn good still. You have a lot of young talent. I think it's a good thing for him and for the Blues, right? They got him cheap. He's going to play third, may bump up if injuries strike. So I think he's a great second or third line center for a team like this. So it's a great acquisition for them. And at like no cost, you can't beat it. I think the two biggest questions with this team is, can these guys stay healthy? I think we've seen it a lot with them. Thomas, Buchnevich getting injured at the wrong time and just missing that time, and it really stretches this depth when that happens. So I love their talent. Thomas is a great player. Kyrou obviously has been kind of up and down last season after having a breakout season the year prior. So does he kind of put it back together? And I think the other main question obviously is in net, right? Is Binnington gonna be Binnington? His crazy all over the place 8 goals against and shut out the next game type of guy, or can he be that cup run guy that we saw a few years back? I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Like this team looks good on paper, but
yeah, it does.
And the blue line looks good still. I mean, the blue line looks solid still. I don't know.
Krug's gonna be out for a few months though, isn't he?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I thought Krug just got hurt.
I didn't see that.
But yeah, I mean, we talk about. I feel like it's the theme of the podcast of just goalies in each year of how much the variance is. I mean, Binnington had a career worst goals against average last year, 3.31, and a career worst save percentage in 0.894.
He's the ultimate roller coaster, this guy. So I mean, that might be the most important thing, even more so than the injuries, like I was saying. But if he can be just decent, I think this team could be pretty good.
Who's their backup?
Joel Hofer.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's a prospect, right? I mean,
yeah.
He's like, and he looked decent last year at times. He's only 23. I mean, who knows what we're gonna get out of him?
Yeah, that's you. I guess. What are your thoughts on this team?
Yeah, I think this team kind of lives and dies by their goaltending because everything else looks halfway decent. You still got some quote unquote kids and Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou, who I think can really kind of only go up from what we've seen. I mean, those two guys could be very nice pieces for kind of this retool that we're seeing the Blues do. Jake Neighbors wasn't great last season, but he's a young power forward. And to me, it always takes those type of players a little bit longer to really break out. Like Lawson Krause took several years to become the 20 goal scorer player he is now. So, I mean, we could see Neighbors take a step up. Vrana has always been kind of sneaky good. If he has a full healthy season, that could be a really nice piece. I mean, there's nothing that I really dislike about this team besides Binnington. And we keep on saying it. Goaltenders may be the hardest position to pick or to project. And if he can focus and play well, then this team could be pretty good. If he keeps on trying to pick fights with everyone and can't keep his head straight, I don't know. This team could come crashing down. I think the thing that scares me the most about this team is the fact that it does seem like they're doing a slight retool, and we don't know if Armstrong is going to pull the plug on this team as well. So if they are not looking like they're close to a playoff spot come the deadline, or maybe even in December, January, they have some nice pieces, especially on defense, that I'm sure a lot of other teams would like to get their hands on. So Nick Leddy, Periaco, Torrey Krug, Justin Falk. I mean, all these players, Scandella, Portuzzo, every single one of these guys, I think would a true contender would be interested in if the price is right and they can fit it into their cap. So that's the only worry to me is what direction does the GM take this team more so than what direction the players take this team.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, you kind of got your two big dogs between Colorado and Dallas battling out for 1 and 2. And then from there, it seems like a 3-horse race between Minnesota, Nashville, and even St. Louis here, throwing them in there for kind of that remaining 1 to 2 playoff spots here. And it seems like who's ever kind of left out of that area, maybe Nashville's not necessarily a seller at this point, but if it is St. Louis or Minnesota, that they could start dishing off some pieces to their roster come trade deadline time.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm a little bit more confident in the point total for Nashville than I am St. Louis, because the pieces that Nashville have are, to me, look more like long-term pieces, especially in the forward group. Yossi, obviously, Saros. I know there were rumors for potentially trading him at the draft this year, and it didn't happen. And to me, that's showing confidence and keeping him moving forward. And I'm sorry, no, it was Askarov, their prospect, that there was a lot of
even Saros too, though. Saros, still, I mean, if he would be the main guy that you feel like would go.
Yep.
If Nashville again continues to regress and take a step back, and those young forwards aren't showing any promise this year, it seems like he's going to be the guy to go.
Yeah, I'd have to agree, but right to me, I feel like everything's a little bit more shakier in St. Louis as far as people being more expendable.
And honestly, all these guys on that blue line were in trade rumors last year. So, I mean, you're talking about guys that already have been hearing their name in rumors, and all it's going to take is that bad November where they lose, they go on a losing streak, or start moving out, and it's like, all right, I think we got to start selling these pieces. So, I agree.
And this is another team where I at least looking at it on paper, I struggle to find kind of what that leadership group is. So a little bit like Colorado, kind of losing a heart and soul player like Landeskog. I kind of look at this and it feels very patchworky. There's a lot of names here that you recognize. There's a lot of names that at some point were very good players, and they're kind of all just mixed in together. And I don't know.
Who is that glue guy, right? Without Riley there, I don't see it. I don't really see
Same. Periaco, I've always thought would maybe become that,
Falk.
but he really hasn't. Falk, maybe.
Yeah, actually, Falk. Yeah, that's probably the one.
I feel like Falk would be
maybe
kind of that guy with crew. Yeah.
Shen never seemed like a very outspoken person. Maybe Kyrie's kind of becoming that. I don't know. That's one thing I think.
You almost need one of those young guys, Thomas or Kyrou, to be that guy. But I don't know if they are that guy.
Yeah. So this team to me just looks really halfway decent on paper, but it seems like it lacks identity. And that
they're going to live and die by Binnington.
I think so. And
I think they'll be fun to watch. I think they're going to score some goals. So I think that might be the angle, at least for the betting markets when the season starts, to look for goals, at least for them. And
Robert Thomas, so smooth apples left and right.
Yep. Love
it. All right, moving along here. Last team in the division here, Winnipeg Jets. Kind of a big overhaul, I guess. They buy out Blake Wheeler's contract here. He goes to New York. You got Pierre-Luc Dubois traded to LA. They get a solid return, though, in Velarde, Ayala, and Kapari. So I do like that return in terms of shoring up that second and third line there with kind of all those guys. Interesting team. Hellebuck obviously kind of took a step back there last year, but Dubois was their main goal scorer for this team, and they do lose him. It doesn't seem like a really bad team on paper, I guess, per se. I don't hate this team, but
no.
Again, Hellebuck, questions there. They do bring in Brossoit, though, which is, I think, a solid backup goaltender for this team if Hellebuck does kind of continue to struggle here. So
or gets traded.
And he wanted to come back. He was on Winnipeg the year prior, so I guess that's a good thing to see if you're a Jets fan, that he wanted to come back here.
Jim must like the dark.
Just loves Winnipeg. Betzky, I guess season total points here, 91.5. They had 95 last year. You think Dubois, I guess, departure warrants this downturn here, or do you think kind of that Velarde, Iafallo, Kapari trade evens out almost in terms of offensive production?
I probably lean the under here. I a little worried about this Jets team. Kyle Connor has already made statements that he does not want to be in a rebuild, and everything. I mean, it was shocking to me that they snuck into the playoffs. That top six always looks good though, but losing PLD hurts. I think, even though adding Velarde's not bad by any means, but he's had health issues too.
I thought it wasn't great for LA last year. He kind of had a little bit of a downturn.
Yeah, and I read that there were a lot of issues in that locker room. I've seen people say it may have been Wheeler. I've seen people say that Scheifele is a
PLD,
potential.
I heard too.
I heard PLD. I've heard people were. I think what I've read was that there are kind of like lines being drawn in the sand, and it's like, you either are with this like older leadership group or you're not. And I don't know. This one worries me. I think this is a very sensitive team. And if things start to go poorly, I could see this being a team that sells a lot. I mean, Kyle Connor could be gone. Scheifele could be gone. Ehlers could be gone.
Hellebuck,
Morrissey. I mean,
this is the team that has all the pieces. Like we're talking about Nashville not having pieces to trade. This is like
premium pieces too.
If they struggle this year and there's a playoff team, your first call is to Winnipeg.
Yep. Absolutely,
because they have defensemen, they have a goaltender, and they have three solid forwards that you can plug in pretty much anywhere in your lineup.
Yep. So I would lean the under here. I mean, again, you look at this team on paper, and man, they got some great pieces. They got some great players, but I mean, that's probably what every GM in the league's saying right now.
Yeah. How is Velarde? I mean, Velarde, Perfetti, I follow. It could be a line that just clicks this year.
Yeah.
Finally gives them some depth scoring. So I don't want to discount this team right now. And that top line is still with Connor, Scheifele, and Ehlers. I mean, if this team gets rolling, which I think
Lowry was looking really good at one point. Niederreiter was a hell of a pickup for them.
Yeah. It feels like this team needs to get off to a hot start, or else those issues are just going to build on each other and just kind of pile on, and it's just going to go downhill quick.
Yep. I agree. And, maybe they cut out the players that were really stinking up the locker room with Wheeler and PLD. But again, from what I've read, Scheifele may be one of those as well. Maybe he straightens up now that the other two are gone, or I'm not 100% sure. And again, I get nervous when star players say things like they don't want to stick around for a rebuild, or like Pettersson in Vancouver, where he said he if they don't make noise this year, he doesn't want to be on Vancouver anymore. I think once that crack is there, I think it's hard for teams to recover from it.
Connor was on Columbus before this?
Nope. He was drafted by Winnipeg after Boston drafted three players in the first round of the 2015 draft that aren't really on that team anymore. DeBrusque.
Oh, I'm thinking of Laine.
Yes, Laine for PLD.
Yeah.
Was the trade.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. But yeah, I don't know. This team, it's going to be interesting to watch, I'd say, the first few weeks to really see what they do in terms of a betting angle. I'm probably not going to touch them for the first week or so.
You mean you don't like the sweat of Kyle Connor shots where he can have 15 in the first period, or then he has one the whole game, the next game?
Yeah. Yeah, it's another betting team that you're just like, I don't want to stay up until, at least on the East Coast, till 10 p.m. and watch this team just play a shit game. So
I don't know. I kind of like these lines though, guys.
I
do too.
On paper, yeah.
As much as like we're saying it's a rebuild, like the pieces they got aren't. It's not like they got 21-year-olds that have no NHL experience, or or old guys that don't bring much. You know what I mean? Like Iafallo's 29. He kind of had a down year, but I don't know. I think he's decent. I think, like you said, the question about Velarde, because his talent is there, he's 24, is can he stay healthy? But when he has been healthy, he's looked pretty good. And I don't know. I mean, this team could literally go either way for me, at least. I would say. And I don't know. It's weird. Like I kind of like them, but like you said, that this team could be completely different. And when we hit the trade deadline with all these pieces.
Yeah, I know we were high on this team last year too, and I don't think necessarily they're going through a rebuilding. It's just, can they click?
Yeah,
Can they
and
put it all together for a season?
I think that's the proper evaluation of the team. It's right now it's a retool, right?
Yep.
They are definitely trying to keep Connor around. They probably see him as a franchise guy. They probably are seeing this team and they made the playoffs, and they probably can, I know it's difficult for Winnipeg to attract free agents, so they've really had to do a lot through the draft to build a team like this. And I think if everything clicks and if they win some games early on and they're at least above 0.5, or winning more than they're losing by December, this team could stay together and they could easily be a playoff team again. I think if this team is sub 0.5 win-loss by December or so, they may say, okay, the retool isn't working. It's time to do full rebuild. Everybody's available.
Yeah. I mean, they could be in that race right now on paper with Minnesota, Nashville, St. Louis, or they could be in that race with Arizona and Chicago.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think right
I like
now, them more than all those three teams of Minnesota, Nashville, St. Louis on paper.
I like them more than St. Louis, I'd say.
Yeah, I think I would put them ahead of St. Louis and maybe Nashville, just because Nashville's too young.
Yeah,
so they're a little bit more questionable.
I think Nashville has a higher ceiling, though.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that.
Yep. Lower floor, but yeah, higher ceiling.
Yep.
I mean, don't forget how good Niederreiter was last year at times. Lowry's still a pretty damn good shutdown center. So I don't know. It's weird.
Baron Kupari and Nemestikov
isn't bad. And they lost Ehlers for a ton of games last year. They lost Morrissey, obviously, was massive for them last year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Perfetti could take a step forward with Velarde this year too. I mean,
this may be the best center core in the Central.
It could be.
From top line down. I mean, Kupari as your fourth line center is nice depth.
Yeah, I mean,
Minnesota, Hartman, Arisenek, Goudreau, and Rossi.
Goudreau, though. I mean, Hartman's not a true 1C.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like Scheifele. Scheifele is way,
Yeah, I mean, Hartman, let's be honest, point totals get inflated because he plays with Kaprizov.
Two massive point getters.
Yeah.
Even Zuccarello is a point machine. So.
Yep. And Eriksson-Ek is probably more of a 2C.
Yeah. I mean, Dallas too. Hint, Wyatt Johnson. If Sagan plays well this year with Duchesne.
Yeah, that may be my favorite actually, but this may be my second.
This is pretty close. Again, it comes. Can Velarde stay healthy and play in that role for 75 games? Say.
Yeah.
That's what you would need.
Yep.
Okay. All right, here. I guess we'll go over our three best bets for this division in terms of points here. I'm just pulling up the sheet right now. So let me know. Betzky, you want to start here?
Yeah, I'm doing that over for Arizona. I think I got them at, definitely at 74.5. I even was willing to take it at 76.5. I'm probably going to do the under on Chicago for what, 71.5 I wrote down.
71.5 minus 104 or minus 115 on
give me
DK.
Give me that every day. And then I like the over for Nashville at 87.5.
So Nashville 86.5 on DraftKings minus 120.
Even better. Love it.
All right, Franco.
I'll go Minnesota over 97.5.
So Minnesota, I have 95.5 on DraftKings.
Even better than I'll take that. Yeah. I think they're going to be good this year. So,
I posted that chart on Twitter of comparing FanDuel and DraftKings season points totals, and there's a few huge disparities
big ones
between some of those sites.
I'm gonna go Nashville 86.5 as well, and I kind of want to do Chicago too, but I almost want to pivot because I don't want to have the same picks as Betzky over here.
They could be winners though.
All right, yeah.
You know?
I know.
He's got Minnesota, he's got Arizona, Chicago, Nashville. You have Minnesota, Nashville. So
yeah,
you could take.
Let's go. Screw it. All right, yeah, Chicago under. They're gonna be so bad, man.
They're gonna be so bad.
They're gonna be so bad.
How many teams were sub 70 points last season? And so far, I think the only one we've talked about in the divisions was San Jose.
Yeah, and we thought San Jose got better and Anaheim got better. So
Yeah.
I mean, this is just brutal, you know. And honestly, like these other ones are just sketchy. Like, are you really going to go under on Colorado? Like,
no.
Are you really going to go over on Dallas being so high? St. Louis could go either way. Winnipeg could go either way. I mean, it makes it tough. I feel like there's not very many options for this division, like in a betting market standard, at least.
Yeah. So the thing with Dallas too is FanDuel has them at 103.5. DraftKings has them at 105.5. I'm going to take Dallas over 103.5. They had 108 last year.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm going to take Arizona over 74.5 here, and then I'm going to take that Chicago under 71.5. As much as I want to be a contrarian here, I don't know how you take the over for that team.
The team is literally built to tank. I just, unless some kid, one of these guys just ends up putting up God level numbers this year, I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't really get it either. All right, so we will be back next week with the Metro division, which should be an interesting division for sure. Excited to talk about that one. But before we sign off here, do you guys want to shout out your socials one more time?
Sure. I'm Gretzky Betzky's Twitter and part of the Parlay Science Discord.
And Franco the Banker on Twitter.
Awesome. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Gator Betting. This has been another episode of Expected Bets 4. Thank you all for listening.